Alrighty, folks, we are continuing with our new investor series. We did have a little bit of a technical issue, so let's catch you up on Clint's story. Clint, I'm gonna give the quick rundown. You let me know if I miss anything.
Yes,
So
sir.
Clint is currently in Mobile, Alabama. He currently has 2 rentals. One generally is called being an accidental landlord. He bought a property in Louisiana when a job took him there. He decided to keep it when he moved back to Mobile. His second purchase was from a family member, needed a lot of work. Got that done with a commercial loan, and currently sitting with 2. And now the conversation becomes, where does Clint and the family go next? Clint, how is that for a quick summary?
That sums it up, Mr. Michael.
Awesome. Well, looks like we're getting some battery charged or whatnot, which is cool.
Yes.
But Clint, yeah, why don't you kind of tell us where are you at in your story right now as you look forward? You're halfway to 4, which is an accomplishment, which is awesome. But where do we go next, do you think?
Yeah. So again, I think we're ready to take that next leap, and perhaps use some of the equity that we built up in the 2 properties. We should have probably in terms of available equity in the home in Louisiana, I'd say probably $60,000.
Sure.
Based on the increase of the market and all that, and the note pay down, and then the one in Mobile probably around the same, I would guess, about 60 grand. So we've got a little bit to work with, but just making that next jump, for a beginner,
Sure.
certainly somewhat frightening, but it's been done before, right?
Yeah, it's been done plenty. I don't mind a little bit of fear. Fear is healthy, right? Being petrified, that doesn't help anybody.
Right.
Being fear, voicing it, asking questions of folks that you know and respect is awesome. So let's talk about that. Um, One of the things that I think is often missed by others is sometimes repeating what worked last time. What does that mean for you? Well, let's not forget your success you had in Louisiana. So I'll ask, what do you think about the idea of moving and buying another house 3.5% down around you that ultimately becomes that third rental when you move again? Is that something you would think about, or is the family done? Right, you got your forever home, not interested in moving. Let's just go there.
No, that's a great question, Michael. I mean, I think it's certainly something I've considered, and obviously, as it's got to make sense, pertaining to what the market, the
Yeah,
local market rental rates,
of course.
what you own in it, as you often say, you don't want to have an alligator on your hands. So that's I think probably to your point, I think the home that we're currently residing in, we could probably make that work, and have that make that third home, and rental home, and move into to another home. So that could be the key, slow and steady way of doing it.
Yeah,
So
I've known several people that have built portfolios of between 4 and 6 units, and all they do is move every 2 years. Right?
yes,
Ultimately, they get to a point where they get that forever home. They're like, nope, we're done. We're good. I'm no more moving for me. But such a powerful, slow and steady. And again, you actually answered it right. It's got to make sense when I exit. So,
yes,
I mean, the house you have today, you're in today with the family. I'm guessing you have a silly low interest rate. I'm just
I
guessing.
do. Yes, you're absolutely correct. I think it's this one's currently, I think it's a 2.375%.
That's just stupid.
So
That's
it
dumb.
is.
That's
The one in Louisiana and Baton Rouge there is 2.5. So we
oh, it's just horrible, horrible.
I know.
Yeah.
So
So you know what? Again, this is really for you and the audience. I think when in doubt, sometimes try to repeat what worked last time. So
yes,
run the numbers. And then, oh, by the way, you also have to look on the other side. You got to go shopping. Like, hey, could we get something that still makes sense for us? Because, oh, by the way, you're not going to get a 2.37% interest rate today. So you got to make sure the home you're going to doesn't change the income expense ratio too much. It'll certainly
yes.
change a little, but that might be something to repeat. I am generally, let me say it this way. I think too many people lean on equity to keep growing, right? The
Mm,
60K you have there and the 60K. It's not that it's bad. I just think there are sometimes other ways to do it.
Yes.
Um, again, if you want to, how old are your kids? You said you had kids running around the background. How old are they?
Yes, I've got 2 daughters, one's 13 and one's 9.
Okay, so they're not babies crawling on the ground, right?
That's
Um,
right.
Another interesting idea, just to throw it out there, is something called a 203K loan.
Okay.
So, what is a 203K loan? It's essentially allows a homeowner, you, to buy a fixer upper and get the financing to repair it. This is actually how Meet Kevin started way, way, way. His first purchase with his wife, Lauren, before they had kids, was a 203K loan. So
Interesting.
I'm trying to play the dominoes, right? You buy a bigger home in a nicer area that needs work. The family moves in. You get the financing to repair it, to make it yours. Then
Yes.
the house you're in becomes a rental. So that way you create a win-win, right? The family gets a slightly bigger house. They're uncomfortable for 6 months while you remodel it, but then it's done, and you have your third rental, right? The one that you're in now. Um, that could be a fun way to play the game.
No, that's a good idea. Michael, I've got a question for you. I know it's a lot of
Sure.
a lot of folks are out chasing distressed properties, which that's obviously a
Mm-hmm.
certainly a good strategy. But and I guess maybe I know the answer to the question before I ask you, but are you opposed to just a turnkey? As long as the numbers make sense.
No, as long as the numbers make sense, it doesn't matter. I think I said this in my book, One Rental at a Time. I should have bought turnkey in 2002 and three. It was a better use of capital.
Mm,
There was a time, 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, where buying junk was a better use of capital because the spread was so between perfect and junk, the spread was
sure.
wide. But when I started, the spread was really small. I should have bought turnkey. So whatever the math is. And if you're going to buy an owner occupied home, run the numbers because maybe it's beautiful and turnkey's better than a 203K. I don't know, but run the numbers. The numbers don't lie.
Yes,
That makes sense?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's the again it becomes analysis paralysis when you're I mean shortage of information, and so you got to get to the point where you're not holding yourself down and not you've got consuming all this information. There's got to be a point to where you got to take some action, and that's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at now. It's like, man, I feel like over the past 6, 7, 8 years, I've really I've taken on enough information. It's time to kick it
Yeah.
in gear and make some things happen, which we have slowly, but
Yeah.
probably not at a pace to where we should have or could have
Yeah.
or need to, for that matter.
So I think the decision point, like you're sitting at again, we've been talking for 15 minutes, so there's probably a lot more to the story that I don't know. But I see the crossroads for you that I see is A, do we turn our existing one into our third rental? Or B, do we go after, just a straight up rental, purpose built rental?
Yes.
And so we've already talked about route one. Let's talk about route two. What I would want to know in route two is I don't know Mobile, Alabama at all. Most of the markets I see across the country work single family or small multifamily. So the first question I would ask myself in Mobile, what's a better return? A single family home where the tenant stays for a long time, or do I buy a duplex, triplex, or quad because it's so that's the if you don't want to do the whole let's go buy a new home, convert to a rental, then the question is you have to figure out is what's a better investment, a house or a small multi? That's the
Yes.
next question.
Well, to me, I mean, it's the I think the medium uh, price for a home in Mobile, Alabama, I think it's about 240 or 250. So it's in a
Yeah,
market to where compared to what you're used to on the West Coast over there is substantially
yeah, yeah.
different. But and so to me, I haven't I've obviously spent more time looking at single family homes as opposed to
Sure.
quads and duplexes and all that, but uh, I don't know that they're. To me, it just seems like there's a shortage of them, and I could be wrong.
Mm.
I may be, you know, there's more single family homes than there are
Yeah. Oh, there's
two
no doubt. There's more.
and all that. So
There's more. The other thing I would ask you to do is how many other local Mobile, Alabama investors do you know?
you know, great question, and not enough. I mean, of course, I've got a W-2 job that
Sure.
requires me to travel a pretty good bit. But certainly no excuse now with the technology at our hands and the capabilities we have. So to answer your question, not
I
enough.
all right. Well, there's your first. That's what I would be doing because you could do this when you're traveling. There are Facebook groups, there are Bigger Pockets forums. I think I would take it as a personal challenge. Let's just throw it out there. You got 10 days left in the month. It's the 21st when we're recording this. I would try to get Clint into 5 to 10 Facebook groups focused on Mobile, Alabama, or maybe, I don't know if, I think that should be big enough, but if not, Alabama in general. And
Okay.
just go introduce yourself, talk about what you have because you've got more than zero. So that already makes you more than most newbies. And just
Yes.
start asking inquisitive questions, start interacting. If somebody has a question that you could answer it for them. Become as known as somebody in the group that gives as and receives. That is a
Yes.
missing thing. A lot of, I mean, and I say this as somebody who did this for 5 years. This was a weakness of mine. I thought the answer, Clint, lived in Excel. That's
Mm,
because that's where I was comfortable in Excel.
right.
The answer is people.
Yes.
There are investors in Mobile, and I'm going to guess hundreds of them, waiting to meet Clint. So
Yes.
go raise your hand.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what I would do next. And
Yeah. I
then
mean,
I might, yeah, I'd poke around duplexes through quads just to validate. But I think your investors are going to tell you, right? They're going to tell you what's what.
yes.
Um,
I
that's
mean,
what I would do. Yeah,
other people have certainly what we need and what we want for that matter. I mean, you gotta have other people to
yeah,
to survive. So why would it be any other way? To your point. So
yeah.
uh,
So I would do that. I'd also probably have a conversation with the wife just to say, hey, what if we repeat what we did in Louisiana and we turn this into a rental, honey, and we bought something else? Not saying we're going to, but just what if? Would that freak you out, or you down for that, or what are you thinking? I think I'd ask her that too.
yes, and again, I've certainly thought about that. That's been you know certainly an option that I've been kicking around. So
Yeah.
we may give that a whirl as well.
Yeah, at least ask the question, right? Um, so what advice does Clint have for new investors, getting started in this? Is there anything wrong with turning your home into a rental? It's clearly works. Is that a good strategy?
I think so, Michael. I mean, I think as long as it makes sense. I mean, as you constantly preach. I mean, if the numbers are there, certainly consider it. I'll give you an example. There was a home that I was looking at that I on the MLS the other day. I guess it had been on the market for maybe 2 weeks, and I noticed yesterday that they've taken it off the market and they've put it on the rental market. They decided they're going to
Yeah,
keep that bad boy and rent it for $1,700 a month.
there you
They
go.
purchased it back in 2011 or 2012 or something like that. So the point is that I think that's certainly for brand new folks. I think that's certainly an option. And it's for me it's been a safe one because it's not quite as intimidating as
Yeah.
saving up a bunch of money and then your hard earned money and then but I think at some point you need to do that, and that's kind of where I'm at now, right? But
Right.
certainly the very beginning,
Yeah.
as long as it makes sense, I think it's a good. As long as the family's on board with it, I think it's a
Yeah.
good option.
Yeah.
So
3.5% down is a lot easier than 20.
yes, 100%, 100.
100%. Absolutely.
So
What's some other advice you have for new investors getting started?
well, read one rental at a time. That's a great resource. Now there we go. I've got mine on my table down there. And now, on the flip side, I'd be careful not to be consumed with too many teachers and
Yeah.
you can could be it can kind of work against you. So take a couple, grab a couple people and study them and watch everything they have. I mean, I've always been a big, I'm sure you are too, a big Charlie Munger fan and Warren
Oh,
Buffett fan.
yeah.
In fact, that's kind of when I began my self development, you know, uh, path back in probably 2015. I was lucky enough to come across some of their interviews, and I was, I was
Charlie
hooked, man.
Munger.
You know,
Yeah,
oh,
rest in peace.
I
He
know it.
is, yeah, for all the kudos that Warren Buffett gets, I always click more with Munger.
There would be no
Just like
Warren Buffett, Michael. There would be no Warren Buffett if
exactly.
there wasn't Charlie Munger. I mean, there just wouldn't. And it was it's funny. He was just on CNBC like 2 weeks before he passed away, and he
Yeah.
was sharp as ever. And sadly,
Yeah.
got the news. But yeah, I would say just consume, learn as much as you can, but be careful. Take grab a one or two people such as
Yep.
yourself, and man, just learn.
There you go.
But again, at some point, we've got to take action too. So I think
Yep.
learning is probably 50%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree with you. Being focused, taking action is the key. Getting out of analysis paralysis, knowing you'll never have perfect information, but you got to leap at some point. So,
that's right.
all great advice.
That's right.
Clint, if somebody wanted to follow you, is there a social media feed, or if they wanted to reach out and ask questions about you or your story, is there somewhere we can send them?
Yeah, my Instagram. In fact, I just set an Instagram up the other day. It's Clint Coker. I think is Clint.Coker. I'm on Facebook as well. Clint Coker on
Very cool.
Facebook. Out of Mobile, Alabama. When you pull it up, and Clint.Coker at Yahoo.com would be another source to
There you go.
contact. So
Well, Clint, I appreciate you. I want to congratulate you. You're halfway to 4. I think you're farther along than maybe you appreciate. I know you're hungry for the next one. I also think you're closer to the next one than maybe you realized. So give yourself some grace, and keep doing what you're doing, man. It's working.
yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for what you do, Michael. Really, really appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Same to you.
Mhm.